And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, May the 7th. Can you believe we're in May? Believe it, we are here. And welcome, welcome, welcome. There has been so much happening in the world, period, definitely in the world of sports. And I'm glad you decided to spend a few minutes with me today. So we're going to start off talking a little bit about the Houston Texans. Then we're going to get into the Astros and, of course, those NBA playoffs. So the Texans are, listen, this week is rookie mini camp later in the week. They held their annual golf tournament yesterday that benefits the Houston Texans Foundation. And they're expected to raise about $440,000, which is a great number. The golf tournament is really, I believe Hannah said it's their biggest fundraiser every year that allows the Texans Foundation to do tons of great work throughout the community. So while it's great news, people were excited about the golf tournament. They're excited about the Texans. They want to play because, when people are winning, other people want to be around you. Still, probably the biggest story, if you will, of the week, of the recent offseason post-draft is the unfortunate incident with Tank Dell, where he was shot while being out in his home state of Florida. And really the questions around his recovery. We have not heard a lot. There was a post from him on Instagram last week that said, thank God. All the reports have been that he should be fine. It was a minor injury, if you will. He was taken to the hospital and released, I believe, the next day or later that day because it was early morning. And so naturally, there have been questions about, well, where was he shot? How is he? And so we had a chance yesterday to ask the McNairs and also head coach DeMeco Ryans about Tank Dell. And so here is Cal and Hannah, the chair and CEO of the Texans, talking about, the first question was asked of Hannah was, when they first heard it, what did she do? And watch her reaction and hear what they say about what they know at this point about the injury and Tank Dell's recovery.
That's hard.
It's frightening, but you try not to get in those situations, and sometimes it happens. And we're just grateful that I believe no one was seriously hurt, but it looks like Tank will make a full recovery. We saw him in the office the other day, and he looked good in good spirits, and so. But he'll have to rehab and get back to where he was. So it's part of it.
So that's really the most that we heard about Tank's injury. We've heard that he's going to be fine, which is great, amazing, a blessing. That, as they both said, that it wasn't worse. And I think we've all said that. But that he will have to rehab to get back to where he was. And if you'll remember, he'd been rehabbing because he had an injury last season where he broke a leg, had to have surgery, and was ready to go for off-season workouts. And then this happens. So that's really all we know. Also had a chance to ask head coach DeMeco Ryans, and this is what he had to say about Tank Dell.
A good conversation. I talked to him several times, and Tank will be fine.
So you expect him to be ready for week one?
Tank should be fine.
What's your emotions like when you get a phone call like that from a player of yours?
Yeah, it's the thing about being in the head coach's seat. It's always, you don't know what type of conversation you're gonna get. You know what phone calls you'll get. So for me, it's just always being ready to adjust, always being adaptable with things that may happen, and just being genuine in every situation we have. And for me, as a head coach, I'm always real, upfront, honest with our guys, and that's the communication that's the way I like to keep the communication with our guys. Let them know if anything happens, they can call me with anything.
So as you can see from both of those interviews, they don't want to say a lot, and I understand that about what's happened with Tank Dell. They've said, we talked to him, he's in a good state of mind, he's going to be fine. You heard Cal McNair say he's going to have to, do some rehab to get back to where he was. And that's really all that we know. But here's what's interesting, right? One of the reporters was asking Cal and Hannah what their conversations were with Tank. And understandably, they said, well, we're going to keep that between us and Tank. I can respect that. I think that makes perfect sense. And the same reporter went on to say, well, what's the lesson? And for me, there's an inference, right, that you did something wrong. And unfortunately, right, in this day and time, we know that you could be literally in the grocery store, in the mall, you could be in church. And so for me, the lesson is too many guns on the street. But I say that all the time, not because of Tank, because there's always something happening to somebody with a gun. And so I'm not willing to jump to what's the lesson for him, because what was he doing? There's nothing about Tank Dell's history and what I know of him. I'm going to speak for me, that would lead me to think, he is somehow at fault for not doing something or doing something. Anyway, so that's what we know to this point about Tank Dell. He is in good spirits, which is important. He should make a full recovery. He will have to do rehab. Don't know where he was shot. We heard from some other reports from Florida, some of the sheriff's reports, that it was lower extremities. Not sure what that means. Was he grazed? We don't know any of those answers. And so, the other side is, as reporters, you have to ask those questions, right? You can't just tell the happy stories. The golf tournament is great, but obviously if there's a news story out there, a story involving a fan favorite, right? And it's understandable that there will be questions, and that we would try to get a little more information. So that's just kind of the nature of how it works. But that's what we know about Tank Dell, and that's what the Texans had to say about it. He's back in town and in good spirits, and I think that's that's huge. We'll keep you posted. Later this week, I'll be over at rookie minicamp. Don't expect to see him there. He's not a rookie, and we'll be on the field, not really in the building. So we'll get a chance to get a look at some of the rookies on the field. So head coach DeMeco Ryans was also asked about, how excited he is. He said it was fun to be on the golf course yesterday. He doesn't get to play a lot because football takes up a lot of his time, and also he has a whole family. But he said he's excited about getting on the grass, seeing the rookies in town, and looking forward to rookie minicamp later this week.
Right, it's really exciting. We'll have our rookies come in this weekend, so to get out and do rookie minicamp, to actually see the guys in their Texans gear, see them run around on the grass, is going to be fun for us. I know our coaches are excited to get out on the grass with the guys as well, and we're excited to get to work with them. You're excited once you make those picks, and now having the guys come in the building, being able to meet with them, right, install our schemes on all three phases, and being able to see, just see these guys run around is going to be exciting.
What's your first message like to a young guy coming in that maybe wants to do it all on day one? You got to kind of slow him down a little bit.
My first message to our young guys is just, hey, take a deep breath. Right? Take a deep breath, relax, and just kick back and have fun. Right? These guys have been playing football for a long time, and I try to make sure they understand that the game hasn't changed just because you're stepping up to the next level. Continue to do what got you here, and that's being a hard worker. Right, being dedicated to your craft, and that'll take you pretty far in this league.
So one of the other things that Cal and Hannah talked about, one of the questions they were asked were about the uniforms. So a couple of weeks ago, I shared the new uniforms with you. You've probably been seeing them. One of the big things for the team is that the uniforms are selling out quickly. So that means the fans really like them. They have brought in that old Columbia blue, the Houston blue, which is also known to probably newer fans as Titans blue. And there's this ongoing kind of, I don't even want to say controversy, but, conversation about the color. And everything in the NFL is about the shield. So you've got to get approval, and there's a process with it all. They are able to use a little bit of the blue. It's an alternate color. It's one of their alternate colors. They can't wear it all. You're limited to how often you can wear it. But yesterday, John McClain asked Hannah about the uniforms, and just take a listen.
Have you guys asked the NFL if you can wear the H-Town blue when the Titans are here?
Why would we? I mean,
Why wouldn't you? It's a natural. It's Houston color.
It's a Houston color, but what does that have to do with Tennessee?
Well, we put
About it on 610.
we put the uniform combos after we get the schedule, so that's when that'll happen.
I love it. I was talking to Hannah kind of off mic after the interviews. And, if you talk to some people, they're like, oh my gosh, Hannah's doing everything. And she's the reason that things have turned around. And she's like, hold on. Obviously hopefully you saw the interview on that I had with her and her husband, with McNair's a couple of weeks ago. And they, they're in partnership, but he's the owner and she's one that will say, hey, we're not going to do the same thing for 20 years. It doesn't make sense and doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. That's where she is. But at any rate, the uniform question is big. One of my friends and colleagues, I consider him a friend in the business, wanted me to do his show. He has a podcast touring the AFC South. Shout out to Mike. If you are listening today, wasn't really able to schedule it for today because I've got a lot going on. But in the conversation that he wanted to have was partly about this uniform thing with the Titans and the Texans. And, it's really kind of a thing. So the fact that John McClain asked it, there's some who probably were interested. I think there's just a little bit of humor in it. But, unless you ask Nick Casario, who would probably tell you, hey, listen, I'm not really the fashion guy and I'm really more interested in what they do on the field. But the uniform conversation has been kind of fun. Fans are excited. And here's the deal. When you're winning, fans are excited about all kinds of stuff, right? The uniform, who shot what at a golf tournament. It all matters when you're winning. Speaking of the schedule, you heard Cal McNair say they'll know more about, deciding on uniforms once the schedule is released. The schedule will be released on Thursday. So we know the teams the Texans are going to play, but we don't know the dates, right? We know the home games and the away games, but we don't know the schedule yet. That will happen on Thursday. And I'm actually going to be on a show with Randall McAvoy over at KPRC Local 2, kind of a schedule release show. It's going to be on their streaming platform, but I'll make sure I post it. And as they reveal the schedule, I guess we'll talk about what it looks like. And so asking DeMeco his thoughts about the schedule, he said he just hopes, when he thinks about the schedule, he just hopes that they got a good date for the bye week. Like, you don't want to have a bye in week 4, right? You'd rather have it midway or later in the season, really midway of the season where you can use the break. You don't want to have it after 4 games and you have the entire rest of the season and your guys don't get a break. So, that'll be one thing that people look for, that he looks for, wins the bye. And also, how many nationally televised games will the Texans be on? Of course, they haven't been on any in recent years, understandably. Last year, they were in the playoffs just because it was the playoffs. And I think there was another game that the NFL flexed late. I think it was the Indianapolis game, that the last game of the regular season. I think that game was a nationally televised game. But obviously the Texans are a team that people are talking about, and it's a team that people are interested in. You can shout out CJ Stroud for part of that, for the reason he is hugely popular, and the work of DeMeco Ryans, and of course the entire organization. But how many nationally televised games? Will there be a Monday night football game? I'm sure there'll be on Thursday night. Will there be a Sunday night game? Will they have one of the national games on a Sunday afternoon? We'll find out. We'll find all that out on Thursday. So I look forward to the schedule release and seeing what is what. Of course, we know the Texans will get to start their offseason or their preseason early because they're playing in the Hall of Fame game. I believe it's the first time since 2002 they've played in that game. And Andre Johnson will be inducted that very same weekend in Canton, Ohio, as the Texans' very first Hall of Fame player. So a lot going on. And listen, football season never really ends, but it's on now, right? We have rookie mini camp this week. They'll get a break. There's OTAs coming up. Then you'll have mini camp in June. They'll get a little break. And then they will go to camp earlier than most because they play their preseason games earlier than most. So that's really kind of an update on what's happening with the Texans. Make sure you follow along. I'll let you hear from some of the rookies later this week. We won't, really get to see a whole lot because, it's a 2-day mini camp. We'll get to see what they do. but they're just really getting started and on this journey. So it's always excited to meet the rookies and, see how they show up. So that's what's happening with your Houston Texans. In baseball, the news is not quite as exciting as if you are a Houston Astros fan, right? And while we know that the baseball season is lengthy, right? It doesn't end. It's 162 games. Regular season doesn't end until the end of September, but you just can't keep digging a hole. Right now, the Astros are 12-22. Make sure I say that right. They are 12-22. They were 3-3 on the recent homestand. They are struggling. They are 1-9 in one-run games. It's as though they've got to score 5 runs to win. What does that mean? Well, it means the bullpen's not playing well. And if you remember in the offseason, there was a lot of excitement about the Astros going out and signing Josh Hader. He's the closer. I'm going to move Ryan Presley up, let him come in as an 8th inning pitcher or 9th inning on a day if Hader wasn't available because he pitched a couple days. But Hader, the $95 million, and I say that not that I'm really big on talking about player salaries, but that's a lot for the Astros. The Astros are pretty conservative in terms of how they spend. They do pay and compensate well, but that was a big number for them. That was a big sign of confidence. And Hader has not been great. Brian Abreu, who you expect more from, he has not been great. The bullpen to say they've struggled is an understatement, and they've got to turn some things around. They also made a couple of moves since we were last together. Last week, we knew that they had called up Joey Loperfido from AAA Sugarland, his first outing, his first game. It was a good outing for him. He drove in with a couple runs, got a couple of hits. He fielded well. He's been playing in left field. I don't really think he's a first baseman. They've been playing John Singleton, at first base. And that is because Jose Abreu was optioned to West Palm Beach last week. So what does that mean? He was optioned the same day that they called up Joey Loperfido. Actually, he was optioned the following day, but I think they made that decision around that time. And General Manager Dana Brown talked about it as he's kind of broken, right? My word, I don't know if he said that, but he needed to kind of go get fixed. And they feel like it's with his swing. It's about timing. And if you go down to West Palm, as opposed to sending him to a minor league assignment where there are 25 other guys on the team or whatever the number is, he can go down and get more at bats, build his way up, and try to work out whatever's happening with his swing. And not often do you see a player with his a former league MVP with his years of experience that agrees to take the option, but he did. And so Dana wanted to make sure that people understood that, he had an option, but that he decided, hey, I want to do what's best for the team and for me. And I know something's wrong. So one of the questions that was asked of Dana Brown is, do you think this move, is Jose Abreu's career salvageable, I believe was the question. And here is Dana Brown talking about what he thinks about where Jose Abreu is.
Abreu, and I see him drive the ball, as far as he can drive it in batting practice, and I see that he still has bat speed. I say that there's still hope. And that's what the scouting eye. What the scouting eye tells you that if a guy's swing is slow and he can't get to certain pitches, then the chances of him getting back to his ability is null. So, but what I would say with Abreu is he was still showing bat speed in batting practice. And part of his issue is timing. And if you start your bat late and pitchers are throwing hard at the major league level, you have very little chance of catching up with it. And so you have to get your timing right in order to get that barrel head to the baseball. And so he can do it in batting practice. He has the bat speed. The bat speed's still pretty good. So we got to get his timing right, and we got to get his rhythm right so that he can consistently do it. And so I still feel very optimistic about it. If the bat was slower, I would be less optimistic. but he's showing bat speed. It's just that he's so late with his trigger.
So Dana says he's optimistic. And in terms of a timeline, he said there's no set time. I mean, is it 10 days? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 20 days? Who knows the number? Whatever amount of time it takes. And they look forward to him getting back up to the bigs. And we'll see what happens. In the meantime, they've been playing Singleton at first base. He's played well. You know, his bat he's been hitting the ball well, swinging the bat well. He had a couple of home runs in that last homestand. And, you know, he's a guy that hits for power. So can this be kind of the resurgence, if you will, for Singleton? We don't know, but they need somebody, right? And so I heard a question on one of the local shows the other day that I thought was pretty fair and interesting. Like, who's been the 5 most disappointing Astros this season? And there are more than 5 probably. But I thought about that question, and obviously you start with Abreu, right? Which is why he has been optioned to West Palm, back to their spring training facility. But also there are other guys that have been disappointing. Clearly Josh Hader. I just said earlier how he has been blowing, saves. He has been disappointing. And listen, Alex Bregman has been somewhat disappointing. This is a contract year, and he has not been swinging the bat well. That's been a little disappointing. And probably a guy like Brian Abreu, who had been kind of lights out the last few seasons. He's hitting batters, he's been walking a lot of players. That's not what you expect or want from Brian Abreu in relief. So that has not been great. Presley, I don't know if I'm going to put him on that list. I think being kind of demoted from the closer, I think there was some mental stuff for him to kind of handle that and deal with it. But there have been no shortage of players that you could say have been a little bit disappointing. Yainer Diaz offensively has not really done what you had expected. And Yordan Alvarez has not been swinging the bat like you would think. So that's probably more than 5. But my point is, there's some stuff going on with the Astros. It is still early. At some point, I'm going to have to stop saying that, because if they don't start winning more than they lose, they've got to win. They've got to go on a few streaks. I think they won 3 in a row for the first time this year. They swept, if you will, Colorado, which is a team that, is, a team that you could just barely call a major league team, right? They beat them in Mexico City. And then they came back. They win 3 or 4 in a row. They've not had very many win streaks. They've got to get some streaks. They've got to put together 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. They've got to have some streaks to make up some ground, because now you are 10 games under 500. And yes, it's early, but everybody's playing. It's not like you can just catch up and the other teams will stop playing and then it'll be fine. At some point, you've got to make up some ground. And so we'll see when they start to do that. Got a chance to also talk to Joe Espada about Abreu, and this is what he kind of echoed what Dana Brown said.
It was more of a timing issue.
Yeah.
Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, all the matrix, that's what it says. We're looking at, his swing path, when he gets barrel on the ball, the way the ball is coming out of the bat, everything shows that it's there. It's just trying to get him time, trying to repeat his swing. That's what we're trying to do. Put him in an environment where he can get as many at-bats he wants, and just try to get his timing done, where he can feel comfortable, then, being able to, he come up here and just be the player that we saw last year doing this dealing season.
Joe, was there an...
So what you heard him say is that's what all the metrics say. And I don't doubt that, but that is the analytics, right? This team relies heavily on analytics, and that's what the analytics show. Dana Brown talked about his scouting eye, right? So that's why I always say you have to have a combination of analytics and then, what is it that you see? You've got to know enough to be able to see it. And, all the best. You'd like to see him get back. They could use the Jose Abreu they thought they were getting, even the Jose Abreu that really showed up last fall. And while he may not have hit a lot of home runs, he was driving in a lot of runs. So that version of Jose Abreu would be very helpful for this team. The other big story over the past week was Joey Loperfido, who was called up from AAA. He led the minors, and actually, when he was called up, the majors as well in home runs. He had hit 13 home runs, and he got the call last week and made his debut in Houston with the Astros. First outing was a good one. And here is Joey just talking about his first day as an Astro, getting into the building when he got the call, the whole 9 yards.
It's been fun. I have my family in town, my parents, girlfriend, my buddies flying in, so it's been a fun day. Got in last night and just trying to soak it all up.
Are you nervous right now, or how are you doing?
I'm just trying to embrace all the emotions. It's a lot of hard work getting here, and I think for all the people that supported me throughout my career to get to share this moment this week and these opportunities with them here at the beginning especially, so just trying to enjoy it.
What was it like when you were told that you were going to the show? Can you take us back to that experience with Mickey?
Yeah, so we had a good week in Reno, and Mickey came in, and we had a comeback win that day, Sunday, and he said, hey, I'm proud of the way we're playing, keep going, let's carry it to El Paso, but we're going to be going with one less guy, and my heart started beating a little bit after that. I thought maybe he might be talking about me, and he said, we knew it would happen at some point. We're really proud of this guy, Joey, going to the big leagues. And I just got emotional. All the guys kind of swarmed me in the clubhouse and went outside.
That was Joey Loperfido talking about his first day as a Houston Astro. So since he's been called up, he's played in 5 games. He's hitting .267. He is 4 of 15 with 1 run scored. He has 2 RBIs, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. I think we talked about last week how he is a power hitter. He has not hit a home run yet, but he also strikes out a lot. And so that's one of the things, obviously, he wants to work on. They want to work on. But John Singleton is, I mentioned, who has stepped in at first base. He's hitting .258, but his slugging percentage is .435, and his OPS is .764. So he is, that's a good thing. He's hit 3 home runs, a couple of doubles. He has 8 RBIs, 7 walk, and 14 strikeouts. So he has been manning first base, if you will. And of course, Jose Altuve is leading the team in batting average with a .343 batting average. I mentioned Yordan Alvarez. Let me see where his numbers are. He's hitting .250. His OPS is .764. And he has scored 19 runs, 18 RBIs. He struck out 24 times. He has hit 7 home runs. So they need to get. I mentioned them. One more guy I'm going to give you. I'm going to stop with the numbers. Alex Bregman is hitting .202. He has scored 6 runs, 5 doubles, hit 1 home run, driven in 11 RBIs. He has 14 walks and 16 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. So Jeremy Pena is a guy that is kind of elevated his game again. He worked on his swing in the offseason, and so far it is showing to be working for him. He has played in every game. He's hitting .323 batting average. He has an .813 OPS. He has, I lost him. Here we are. 5 doubles, 1 triple, 3 home runs, and he's driven in 13 runs. He has 5 strikeouts, 25 stolen bases, 20 strikeouts, and 6 walks. He's been caught stealing twice. So listen, we'll see. It is early. The Astros are on the road now. They're in New York. They'll be on this road until next week. They come back home next week, but they are on the road this week. So I will keep you posted. Before I get out of here, obviously we have to talk about the NBA playoffs. And let me just show you where we are right now with the NBA playoffs. We are in the conference semifinals, right? So if you can see that, so the Thunder and the Mavericks will play one of the Western Conference semifinals, and the other side it's the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. The Nuggets, the T-Wolves have jumped out to a 2-0 lead, which is, I think, surprising to many. The Clippers fell to the Mavericks 4-2. So James Harden does not advance this year. And on the other side in the East, it is the Celtics and the Cavs. That series gets started. And on the other side, the other semifinal, it's the Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks won game 1 of that series. So listen, there's been a lot of talk about Anthony Edwards with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is he the new face of the NBA? You know, obviously a LeBron James is still around, but he is nearing the end of his career. Steph Curry, who's the next guy that's going to be the face of the league? Remember, the NBA really was, I think, the thought was it was going to be Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, and then he really could not get out of his own way, and so he's not the guy. But maybe it's going to be Anthony Edwards. I think it's always interesting from a marketing standpoint, and to see how these leagues, what they do to market their players and how they start to position them, because what the NBA doesn't want to do is have a gap of what's the identity? Who's the face of the league? So that is going to be interesting. Victor Wembanyama was the unanimous selection to be NBA Rookie of the Year. I don't think there was any surprise there, but he is the Rookie of the Year, and what a season he had, right? What are the Rockets' chances to advance? So the Rockets, hey, good morning, and good morning, Marcia. Welcome. So the Rockets don't have a chance to advance right now because their season's over. I know you knew that, but if you mean in the future, we'll see what they do this offseason, who comes back healthy, how they look. And I don't expect them to make any big moves. I think that when we talked to Rafael Stone, the general manager, a couple of weeks ago, he said basically he likes the team, and if they get the guys back healthy, Tyree Eason, Steven Adams, who they traded for from Memphis, Alperen Şengün, they get those guys back healthy, they should have enough in terms of experience and just how they've played to definitely be in postseason next year. So that's going to be interesting to see. I want to also share a video with you guys of CJ Stroud, who is having his best life, if you will. Let me stop sharing this screen. Okay. His best life is in the off season. He and Micah Parsons, who are friends and have a great rapport, did a kind of their own draft night, if you will, where they were going through the draft and doing commentary. CJ's really very good at it, and he's smart. I mean, his football IQ, which we already knew is very high, but he did a really good job. Now he and Micah are over in Asia, and let me share this with you. It says living his best life. So this is the two of them. Let me see if I can.
Can't even throw to me. Micah's inaccurate from 6 feet. Somehow he'll bat 200. He's crazy. I'm not in Tokyo because I'm big in Japan. I'm throwing a 4-seam fastball. That was a good pitch. That was tough. That was tough. I'm better than Micah. I threw it. He said, that's tough. I put the pressure on him. He was way further back than the pitcher. Like, he was further back. That wasn't legitimate.
You saying it was illegitimate. Your pitcher was, or catcher was further back.
No, you can run the tape. My pitcher was further back. I didn't have a pinpoint. Like, you know how I say you got to look at your...
Get up out of here, bro.
You got to look at the mound.
I don't got no excuses.
He's not even over the plate.
Somebody like me,
So
I don't got no excuses. I just get it done.
That was so that is CJ Stroud and his good buddy Micah Parsons. They are quite the duo, and they are in Asia. And CJ's popularity in one season, it's not just big in Houston. It's not just big nationally. As you can tell, he is internationally recognized, and people want to see him. And so he is in Asia. You know, he will obviously be back in time for, he'll be back for OTAs and definitely, mini camp. But right now he's enjoying the last little bit of our season with his good buddy Micah Parsons. So it's always fun to show a little something else. Also, I wanted to let you hear, I often run one of our supporters is I Love Jinka, who has been supporting Chalk Talk for many, many years. I was going to have an interview today with a little segment with Kim Edwards-Williams, one of the founders, talking about eyebrows. We're going to do that later and maybe do it a little, maybe do it on Instagram. But it's called, we've been talking about brows gone wild, right? The ones that are drawn on, and people say my brows don't grow. And, Kim has developed a growth serum for your brows that definitely helps with the growth of it, but it's also about just doing something that is a little more natural. And, my brows, she does my brows, you don't always get to see them because of my glasses. But when I take my glasses off and my brows aren't done, your eyebrows frame your face. So I don't want to go off on a tangent. I'll let you hear from Kim about it. But I run one of the commercials about I Love Jinka and telling you where you can get it. And I wanted to share one of the testimonials that I thought was really interesting, that somebody else that's talking about how I Love Jinka has really impacted them, has made a difference. So here is, let's see if I can go to this page and share this with you.
I'm video job, but
when was your first time you used Jinka?
Maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
6 months ago.
And what'd you see?
It took me about a month, and I hadn't had gout or arthritis in about 7 months. And then when I ran out and couldn't find my wrist swole right now. So I'm taking 4. And if one help, I know what 4 gonna do. So I might get me on intercom there and fly on the side of there.
Come on, absolutely.
So that's one person who's used the Jinka. He talked about 4. You can take it in the capsules or in the paste. And it really, it impacts people differently. I met a lady over the weekend at a polling location, and somehow I mentioned I Love Jinka, and she said, "Oh, I take it." She said it makes a huge difference with my cholesterol. Some people say it helps with their A1C, others say it helps with their blood pressure. That you heard that gentleman talking about, it helped with his arthritis and gout. It is what it's known to do is to reduce inflammation in our bodies, and inflammation causes a lot of different things, right? Pain, higher blood pressure, cholesterol. It has to do sometime with our circulation. So I just want to remind you to support our friends who support us. I Love Jinka. You can go to their website and see other testimonials, get information. You can order it online. You can still get it at HEB and at All Natural in Palm Center. Also, if you are looking for some Kimmy treats, the popcorn is they are carrying that at All Natural and Palm Center as well. So I just wanted to give you a few updates on all the things we have going on. I We are out of time for today, but as always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. Be sure to share this video with whatever platform you're watching it on. Make it appointment viewing or listening, however you're ingesting this show. Every Tuesday, 10 a.m., I'll be here. And in fact, somebody asked me the other day, how long have you done this show? I have been doing Chalk Talk for 11 years, every week consistently for 11 years. And so this is a great place where you can come to, learn some stuff about sports. You're also going to hear from some cool business people along the way. And I have a level of access that not everyone has, and I like to share that with you, whether it's team owners or players or coaches, so that you can hear from them directly. I'm happy to tell you some of my thoughts about what I see, but I also want you to hear directly from the people that are doing the thing, right? Whether it's the coaches or the owners or the players, you get that. Those are some of the things you get with Chalk Talk. So keep that in mind. Come back and see me. Thank you for being here and being a part of the tribe and the conversation. It's the ongoing engagement that makes this show really cool and really fun. I appreciate you. And, love the fact that you guys are here. Love y'all. Love is an action word. Remember a couple of things. Make sure you're registered to vote. There's lots of elections this year, but I think you should be registered to vote all the time and every time there's an election. Houston has a runoff election coming up. Early voting starts a week from Monday. Election day is actually May 28th. Be registered. If you're not registered to vote in that election, get registered now so that when other elections come up, when you get to the fall, you will be registered. I will never tell you who to vote for. That's not my job. But what I will say is vote your values. Do your research, find out the policies and the people, what they stand for, how those people and their policies will impact you and your family, your business, your community. And then you decide who you should vote for. That's one. And the other thing is, remember to do something kind for yourself. We have to practice self-care and do something kind for somebody else. Make it a great, great week. I appreciate you guys. Hey, I missed one of my sisters. Thank you, Sylvia. And the other sister, Ellen. You probably heard me call her Peaches. But that's going to do it for me today. I'll see you next week right here on Chalk Talk. Peace.